Good day, this is Terry Elias, and welcome to another episode of Your Way or Yahweh. And our mandate is as stipulated in Second Corinthians 10:5, we destroy every argument and every lofty opinion raised against the knowledge of God and bring every thought captive to the obedience of Christ. So, in line with the series called the Sabbath Challenge, we'll be asking for calling out atheists to come out with their best arguments against the infallible premises which demonstrate that Jesus is Lord over all. We'll start off with the two premises. The first premise is the God of the Hebrews makes exclusive claims to the 7-day cycle. Second premise, the God of the Hebrews predicts the universal application of the 7-day cycle as a demonstration of his power over all nations. By those two stipulations, I believe that Jesus Christ has demonstrated that he is Lord over all. So by that, we'll be considering the arguments of those who has demonstrated that he is Lord over all. So by that, we'll be considering the arguments of those by that. Okay. I'm just the first time I'm doing this, so let's see what's going on here. Okay. First time I'm doing this, so let's see what's going on. All right. Hello. All right. Hello. All right, it looks good. All right. So again, hello. All right, it looks good. One second. All right. So again, hello. Give me a second, because this is my first time doing this. Maybe I should take this off. All right. So let me do this all over again. And thank you very much for your patience. Again, my name is Terry Elias, and welcome to another episode of Your Way or Yahweh, Tested by Fire. And our mandate is as stipulated in 2 Corinthians 10:5. We destroy every argument and every lofty opinion raised against the knowledge of God and bringing every thought captive to the obedience of Christ. So in line with the series called the Sabbath Challenge, we will be considering the arguments from those who consider themselves as atheists against the two infallible premises which demonstrate Jesus as Lord. First premise, the God of the Hebrews makes exclusive claims to the 7-day cycle. Second premise, the God of the Hebrews predicts the universal application of the 7-day cycle as a demonstration of his power over all nations. By that, we can demonstrate that Jesus is Lord over all. And as I stated in my in the challenge, I said I would cut my tongue to anybody that could demonstrate or refute my two premises. So today we have Mr. Frank Lovell. We're going to provide him the opportunity to. First of all, are you an atheist?
I am.
Okay, so we're going to provide Mr. Frank Lovell the opportunity to present his case and see what we can do with that. So go ahead, sir.
Well, I don't have a case. I don't believe there exists a God.
Okay.
One may exist that I don't know about. So I don't. It's not my position that for certain there's no God. So you could say I'm an agnostic atheist.
Okay.
I'm an atheist because I don't believe there is a God. I lack belief in any God. But I don't claim that for certain.
Okay.
And by the way, I admit, and I think I may have mentioned this in a message to you on whatever that website, the group was, apologetics group. I don't, how to say this? I think I just did. I don't say there is no God. And so I cannot prove there is no God. Just like I cannot prove that there are no winged flying horses called unicorns. There may be one out there. I don't believe there are any. I suspect you may not believe either, but neither of us can prove there are none. So I just want to be clear on that. I'm not here to tell you that you're wrong. I'm here to discover if I'm wrong.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
And I can respect your position. So I like your humility. So how about we do this? How about we go through the two premises I presented and see whether or not that presents a case for the lordship of Jesus Christ.
Okay. Okay, let's do that.
Okay,
you lead.
Okay, perfect. The first premise: the God of the Hebrews makes exclusive claims to the 7-day cycle. That's the first premise.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So basically, what I'm saying is nobody else makes claims to the 7-day cycle except for the God of the Hebrews. You could check that in Genesis 1, Genesis 2, verses 1 to 3. It clearly states that.
Well, no, but I'll admit that I know of no others that make that claim.
Perfect.
Now, empirical science and everyday experience
Go ahead.
makes that claim. I mean, we have a calendar that's based on 7-day weeks.
Why? Why is it scientific?
Well, because it worked out very nicely.
Can you explain to the people that might be watching this why you say the 7-day cycle is scientific? Because I don't believe it is scientific. I don't believe it has to do with nature.
Maybe you and I mean something different by scientific. What I mean by scientific is that empirical facts that I can go out and measure and observe. You can go out and measure and observe. Joe, Sam, and Mary can go out and observe, and then we can all come together and write on a blackboard what we observed. And when we're done, we'll all say, yeah, that's what I observed. Is that what you observed? Yeah, that's what I observed. Is that what you observed? So science is simply a collection of facts about physical reality that we find ourselves, and theories about how it works. How come the speed of light is what it is? How come hydrogen is got one proton in it and helium's got two? These sorts of things.
How about we stick to the 7 days? Well, how about we stick to the 7?
Okay.
So let me ask the question. So the people, so we can get some clarification, and the people that's listening to us get some understanding. Okay. So when you say observation, are you aware that every calendar, beside the Hebraic calendar, there was they all kept a different cycle than a 7-day cycle? Example: ancient Egypt kept a 10-day cycle. France during the French Revolution kept a 10-day cycle to fight the narrative of the Bible. They didn't want to keep a 7-day cycle because they associated the 7-day cycle to the God of creation. So to remove that from their society, they went to a 10-day called the Republic calendar, a 10-day cycle. China kept a 10-day cycle to honor their gods. Rome kept an 8-day cycle to honor their gods. So my point is that every calendar besides the one of Israel kept a different cycle than a 7-day cycle. So when you say scientific, okay, so perfect. So now that we can accept that the 7-day cycle is not scientific, but it was a mandate.
Well, it's scientific in this sense. Nothing we know about nature makes it wrong. It's compatible with what we know about gravity and energy and thermodynamics and natural history, the solar system, the universe. What we know, none of that says nope, can't be a 7-day cycle. So it's compatible with science. So science doesn't prove it, but science doesn't argue with it either.
So basically, what we can say, it is independent from science.
Science notices that the 7-day cycle is valid. Now, there's some reason why some people thought a 10-day cycle was valid, And maybe in some senses it was, but the 7-day cycle is more valid with what we experience in the real world. So there's no reason to argue with it. Now,
But
if you say that the God of the Hebrews are the only ones, or first or only, that declared it or recognized it or acknowledged it, I don't argue with that. I don't know
okay,
how
so
that proves there is a God, but I'll agree that they did.
okay, so how about we keep it simple then? Let's keep it simple for the people that's watching, so we can agree that the 7-day cycle is only claimed by the God of the Hebrews. There's nobody else
Okay.
before the God. Okay, so let's agree with that.
Well, but
Second,
well,
go
the
ahead.
people who wrote the Bible,
Okay,
they
so
said
we'll say
that.
the people that
I don't know what the
okay, the
God
people that
said.
okay, no problem. So let's say the
Well,
people that wrote the Hebrew scriptures who ascribed the 7-day cycle to the God of the Hebrews, they said that. Okay, let's go with that
right.
narrative.
I'm good
Second,
with that.
so now we can go to the second. Now we can go
Okay.
to the second premise. The second premise is the one that's more important because that's the premise that demonstrates the power of Jesus to submit all nations to his will, because he predicted the universal application of the 7-day cycle. We can go to Isaiah 66, verse 23, where it says, every nation will come and worship him from Sabbath to Sabbath. Now, for that to be accomplished, they have to strictly adhere to a 7-day cycle. So,
Okay.
by that, the very writings I'm appealing to date to 2,300, 400 years. So, before the fulfillment of the 7-day cycle being universally applied throughout all nations, it seems like the book of Isaiah was able to predict it, and
Okay.
by some means it was brought to fulfillment. So I believe it was by the power of Jesus Christ to do so. What would
Okay. And
be
I
your
believe
rebuttal?
it was by by very smart people back in the ancient times that
Okay.
that concluded it from whatever they observed or whatever their studies were. They concluded it and they attributed it to make it easy to persuade other people to it that it was God that made that so.
Mm,
There could, by the way, there could be a God behind that, but
okay.
it's not proven because they could have made that up, declared
So
that God did it.
so what you're basically saying, it came through a human agency is what you're saying. It came through
Uh,
the means of human agency. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying it could have, and I say that because a vast number of other things have come to human knowledge that way. This could be one of them. Maybe
Okay.
not. I mean, if you say I can't prove it, you're right. I can't prove it, but I know that humans have done that in other manners.
I agree with you. I agree with
You
you.
know, and so what I think the first and second premises do is they establish reasonable they establish the possibility that there is a God behind this, and that the Bible tells the truth about what that God had to say. And I don't deny that. You know,
Okay.
many Bible believers come to me and they said, "Well, Frank, your problem is you say it's impossible there's a God." No, didn't say that. Well,
Okay. So Frank.
you say it's impossible that what the Bible says about God is true, and I say no, I don't say that.
So Frank.
I think it's wrong, but it could be right.
So how about we build on the very proposition that you just presented to all of us? Let's say it did came. Let's address this human agency situation. Uh,
Okay.
as I already established, all nations besides the Israel kept a different weekly cycle for the very veneration of their gods. So it was very
Okay.
religious. It had to
Okay.
deal with worship. So the fact that first of all, the God of the Hebrews predicts that he would submit all nations for the very the target or the end result is for as it is stipulated in Isaiah 66:23 is regards worship, because Isaiah 56 verse 6
Okay.
establishes that the Sabbath is directly linked to worship. So my point is, if it came through human agency, um, the the problem, the roadblock you would have to face, or what you would have to reconcile, is the fact that every nation held 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 on to their weekly cycle because it directly related to worship, the worship of their gods.
Well,
So
that's fine.
to somehow
That,
suggest
that,
to somehow suggest that all humans came together to have and the 7 day cycle didn't all was not all accomplished all at the same time. The last nation to be submitted to the 7 day cycle was in the 1930s by the
okay.
USSR.
I'll
And I
buy
already
that.
told you France. I already told you France during the French Revolution was fighting against the concept of a God, the God of the scriptures, and went from the 7 days, because the 7 days, they considered 7 days as something that was directly associated with the God of the Hebrews. So they went to
Okay.
7 days to 10 days. It didn't last long. They went back to the 7 days. My point
Okay.
is that they kept those calendars strictly for their the observance of their beliefs. So to somehow
Okay.
suggest that they
But
would come together and conspire to willingly submit themselves to this calendar, that's something that is not consistent with history. Would you? How would you
well, look,
engage this proposition that I'm bringing to your attention?
if
Go
there's
ahead.
going to be, as humanity grew on the planet, expanded around the globe, and did commerce with more and more people from greater nations, had ships that would cross great seas, and had to work in a world community, it didn't make sense for some people to have 7 day weeks and some to have 10 day weeks. There's a lot of things that it was reasonable to not hold on to your cherished uh, habits that you were raised with. In some cases, you got to compromise and let them go for the sake of greater unity. We still have a problem today of half the world uses metric and half the world uses English, inches versus centimeters and this sort of thing. But even that is slowly giving away to metric. And this time, a couple of 100 years from now, and maybe only 30 years from now, we'll all be using metric. Uh, and after that, somebody might say, well, metric, the Jews used metric before anybody else did. So maybe God declared this. And some other religious people might say, that sounds good, it sounds right. So before long, people attribute it to God. And I don't argue with that. They can attribute it to it if you want. But it could have happened without any mention of God. Some people did say, God, the 7 day week really works out well. It's better than any other, and it isn't perfect, by the way, with
Okay,
our
how about
300.
this? How about we?
Okay. See, I don't think we have an
How about
argument
this?
here.
How about we address a specific issue, as because you said you're. But let's for the sake of the people that's hearing us, let's bring a specific situation that happened in history. The
All
French
right.
Revolution. It was
Okay.
the what they call the l'âge de la raison, or it was the beginning of
Okay.
atheism. All right. So they specifically changed the 7 day cycle to a 10 day cycle, because the 7 day cycle, they associated it, they understood the implications of the 7 day cycle as being something that
Yeah, and
came
they
from
didn't
God.
like that.
So already there, we have a precedent in history where the people who were rebelling against the structure during the French Revolution, the religious structure, they understood the 7 day cycle to be coming from explicitly from God. So they changed our calendar. Now,
Yeah.
are you suggesting during this? Are you suggesting that they willingly went back on the 7 day cycle to be subjected again to the God that they were rebelling against?
Well,
Because
I
my
don't
point
know.
is,
I don't know about their politics, and I don't know about their religion, and I don't know about their politics of the differing religions. And there could have been a lot of reasoning that goes on with respect to a compromise that related to religion. But there also may well have been the fact that a big chunk of Asia was and the Middle East was on the 7-day cycle, and for France, you're talking about France, right? One country, one thing. Now, for them to be on a 10-day, and most of the rest of the world on 7, whether they said this was a factor or they denied it was a factor, it would certainly be a factor that there's a great benefit to being in sync with the rest of the world for purposes of commerce rather than out of sync. I mean, we got the same problem here.
But the rest of the world didn't keep a 7-day cycle. There was a lot of countries that didn't keep a 7. And I already give you an example.
A majority of them did, and a majority of them did, and all of them had issues and problems with commerce. It's just like here in my state, the timeline from Eastern Standard Time to Central and Mountain.
Let's stick on the calendar.
That causes great problems.
Let's stick on the calendar. As I established, there was commerce way before the 7-day cycle.
Oh, yeah.
Let me make a statement. There was commerce all throughout history. Yeah. But all throughout history, there was not a 7-day cycle. Okay. The 7-day cycle was exclusive to a small little area called Israel. So I want to establish the fact that, and God Himself says that He would establish this 7-day cycle through Israel. Throughout, I give an example. It says in Ezekiel 20.
God didn't say that. The Israelis.
The people. Said that. The people. Okay, I'm gonna give you an example. Ezekiel says that God says that the 7 days, the Sabbath is His sign that He is God, and that He will sanctify His people. And that's when Israel was about to be exiled throughout all the nations. Now, for this prophecy, Ezekiel 20:12 to be accomplished, He has to submit all nations where all the Israelites have been exiled. And He said that they will be exiled throughout the 4 corners of the earth. So right there demonstrates to me that for this prophecy to accomplish, God has to submit all nations. And see that all nations have been, let me just finish so that we can interact. All nations have been submitted to a 7-day cycle. So now I need to understand your position, because
you don't. You don't.
I don't.
I'll tell you. No, you don't.
Okay.
You're persuaded by what you just said. I think you used words to that effect.
Yes.
You're now persuaded to that.
Yes.
I don't want to tamper with that. It could be true. If that's what you're persuaded to, that's fine. I'm not here to try to make you see this and understand philosophy or history or religion the way I do. I'm just here to try to figure out why I should or should not change my thinking toward yours. Yeah, I'm happy for you to believe that. But if you want to use prophecy,
yes,
and you mentioned Ezekiel, there's Ezekiel's prophecy of Tyre, which is a total failure.
Okay.
A colossal failure. The prophecy of Tyre.
Frank.
So, yes.
Every time there's a diversion, it's because somebody doesn't want to face a reality that's presented in front of them. I'm going to respond. 1 second.
I'm allowing you to
no problem. I'm going to respond to your Tyre diversion, and then we'll go back to the 7-day cycle. Right?
I don't want to do that. If you think I'm just raising it as a diversion, rather than a criticism of the whole idea that prophecies are going to establish the reality of God. That's all I'm doing. If you can use a prophecy out of the Bible and claim that should demonstrate to me that there's a God, then it is fair game, not just a diversion, fair game for me to say, well, regarding Ezekiel, whom you named first, there's another prophecy, one even closer to them, because it was a prophecy about things that have already happened.
Frank. Yeah. Let's stick on topic, because I don't want us to go too far.
I think we are, but okay.
I'm going to respond. I'm going to respond to your Tyre objection, which was a diversion. Because even if you were right about the tire, even if you were right, the Ezekiel prophecy is a universal prophecy. So my point is, then the best thing, the end result for that would be, okay, God did submit the nations, but he had one prophecy that was wrong, so he's not perfect in that regard. So that's
Oh,
the
that's shit. You had a
that
lot
that
of
would be
prophecies. There are a lot of
okay, but
prophecies. I don't
but
accept that there was just one.
okay, let's say there's two, three, four, five, six. Okay, he made a lot of mistakes, but he still submitted all nations. So that's enough power that we should respect him because nobody else submitted all nations. So
It,
that will
it,
be the
it,
end
it,
result by your objection. But I'm gonna respond to your objection because it's based on your ignorance. And I said that with all due respect.
oh, really?
Tyre,
Okay.
there was the island. There was a little island of Tyre right
Right.
next to the coast, and there was
In
the
the
one
midst of the sea. It was in the midst of the sea. And that's a
exactly,
phrase
exactly.
that comes right out of Ezekiel's prophecy. You'll find it in the King James Version, midst of the
Listen,
sea.
did you hear what I just said? There was two tires,
That's right,
two
one on the
tires,
mainland. And
and
the
one on.
one that the prophecy's about is the one that's the island. It's the island
And
prophecy.
what does the prophecy
Was
say?
it
What
wasn't
does
about it wasn't about it. And
and
both,
what?
by the way, both of them are still existence. Neither one of them are nothing. Neither one of them are now just barren and places for fishermen to dry their nets. They're both robust city on both on the continent as well as in the island.
Can you read the prophecy for me, please?
I don't know. No, I can't. I don't have it here. But I'll tell
Okay.
you what. I'm happy to if you want to get into that one. I don't want to do it as a diversion to your earlier
No, but
point.
you brought
We
it
can
up.
schedule another event if you
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
and
We,
prepare
we could
for
do
it.
that. We can do that. But next time, if you're gonna bring an objection, make sure you have your information ready. You're ready to defend the cause. Because I'm
I
not the
don't
one.
care. I don't care whether you accept the prophecy of Tyre as being fulfilled or not. I was just telling you, I don't think it's. I think it's a
I'm
failed
aware.
prophecy.
I'm aware.
And so the
Yeah, no,
fact
no.
that you have a prophecy doesn't mean there is a God. It may or may not be God behind the 7 day cycle
Frank.
prophecy, but it could be smart ancient people.
Okay, Frank. Let's bring some order to this discussion. All right.
Okay,
Um,
fine.
you
I'm
brought you
sorry.
brought you brought you brought the concerns of a false prophecy, but you're not able to develop your case right now. So we're gonna have to do that when you're
Yeah,
able to.
yeah,
Let me
sounds good to me.
okay. Let me finish.
I tried to get out of it when you first said, "Hey, this is a diversion." I tried to say,
Yeah,
"Well, look, we don't have
I
to.
get your
Don't
point.
forget
I get
I
your
said
point.
it."
I get your point. Now,
Okay.
can I just make a sense without any interruption? Because
Yes.
I allowed you to speak. I heard your objection. I'm trying to say, even if your objection was right, which is not,
Okay.
but even
Okay.
if it was right, it doesn't refute Ezekiel 20:12, where he says, "The Sabbath is the sign that I am Yahweh." So now, if you want to make Yahweh a person that gets
Oh,
some of his prophecies right and some are wrong, then that will be the Yahweh that still submitted you. That's what you need to.
no, no. I don't think there was a Yahweh to make those prophecies. I think people did it. It's okay with you if you tell me
That
I'm wrong and you're right. I won't
no,
argue
but you
with
gotta.
that.
Can you
I mean, I'm
demonstrate that?
not. No, no. I told you in the
So,
beginning.
so
I
what is it
can't
based
prove
on?
you wrong. Well, you
So what
said
is it
you
based
could.
on?
You said
So what
what
is it
is
based
what
on?
based on? What is what based on?
Your fact that you're saying is from you a human agency. I already explained to you that
Because
every
I know that
wait
people
wait
have
wait
done
wait
it.
wait Frank, let me finish my sentence so that you know what I'm asking you. I want you to know what I'm asking you, and I want the people that's listening to know what I'm asking you, because I'm gonna
Okay.
put you in a tight spot. I
No, I
already
don't
explained.
mind.
Okay, no problem. So let me finish my sentence if you don't mind. I already explained to you that every nation kept a different cycle for the veneration of their gods. I gave you example: 10 days for Egypt, for France, to honor their gods. I gave you Rome, 8 days. Those are great nations to honor their gods. Babylon was a lunar cycle to honor their gods. China was
Okay.
10 days to honor their gods. So my point to you is, What human agency? When did this happen? When? By whom? How? And for what reason would everyone submit to a 7-day cycle? Why would they all come together and relinquish all their beliefs, all their religious beliefs?
No,
Their
they didn't give
hardcore
all that.
religious. Wait, can I finish my sentence? Their
Well, yeah,
hardcore religious belief to submit themselves to a 7-day cycle. Can you explain to me that?
first, I don't think they gave up, as you just said, all their religious beliefs. It was just the 10-day, 7-day cycle, the cycle issues. And there are other reasons why they may have been willing to give them up. Namely,
I need some
well,
sources.
look, I'm
Some
not.
references.
You think I'm here to talk you out of believing what you believe?
No, I'm
and
not
I'm
asking
not.
that.
I can't refute. I can't explain it. I
So,
can't explain it.
okay, so basically what you're saying is
People
that
may
you.
have done it, and maybe not. Maybe God did it.
So what you're saying, Frank. So for the people that's listening, what you're saying is that your storytelling is basically what you're saying. You're trying to find a story to
No,
avoid.
I'm
Can I finish my sentence? You're
you
trying to
may.
tell. You're trying to come with a story to avoid the reality of what I'm presenting to you. So basically, what you're doing
No.
is you're avoiding reality. Is what you're saying to me.
I don't need it. I'm not denying reality. But what is the reality? The God of the Hebrews came up with a 7-day cycle.
Okay.
And eventually the whole world agreed with it. Not right
And it was
away. The
and it
fiction
was
starts, but
and it
they
was
agreed with
predicted.
it.
And it was predicted. And it was predicted, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
what's your explanation for that?
Well, all sorts of things have been predicted in history. Some right, some wrong. I
No,
don't.
universal. Give me one example of universal prediction besides what I just presented to you. Give me one example of universal submission that was predicted
You mean it
aside from
was
the prophecy that I just provided to you.
predicted by whom? Anybody?
No. And give me any example of a prediction of someone saying that they will submit all nations to their will as a sign of their power, their authority, and their
I
lordship.
don't know of any.
No, because there's none. You don't have to not know about it because there's none. That's my point.
But I don't know about it, and you
There's
say
none.
that means there are none. That's
No, there is
fine.
none. No, there is none.
Okay, that might explain why I don't know any.
Okay,
So what?
so my point is this is exclusive and obviously what we consider a miracle. So you started this.
No.
We started this
Well, I
discussion.
don't see that at all. You think it's a miracle, and you may be right. But it certainly, you're saying it's a miracle doesn't make it a miracle in my mind. I'm not
Okay,
persuaded. I'm
okay,
happy for you to believe that, by the way.
okay. No problem.
I can't prove you wrong. Said
Okay.
that in the very beginning. I'm not even here to try to prove you wrong.
Because you can't really, because all you provided so far, Frank, with all due respect, all you provided so far is a nice storytelling effort to avoid reality. Because you
Okay.
let me give you.
Phrase it any way you
Let me give an
want.
example. No, let me give examples. Because I don't want just people to see me and think that I'm just giving, I'm spouting out words out of nowhere. You came with a human agency argument, and I provided to you that
I haven't
every.
given that up on that one. It's not an
Yeah,
argument. It's not an
no,
argument. It's
but
I
you have.
think it's an I think, and it's an I think. People came
Okay.
up with that, and I
Okay.
think they said God gave it to them.
Okay. No. Well, hold up. You did not
And
give up.
you don't think that, and that's okay.
Frank. You're repeating yourself. I'm trying to get somewhere with my discussion, and I'm
I
not
know
trying
you
to go
are.
in circles. I'm not. So don't prevent me, because when you're preventing me, that again shows me that you're trying to avoid
I,
reality.
I
Again, you're trying to avoid.
apologize.
Okay, so let's get to this discussion. All right, you're saying human agency, and I brought a big roadblock in front of you, which is
What is it?
every nation kept a different cycle for the veneration of their gods. So you have to explain to me why everybody left their
I
religion.
do not have to explain anything to you.
Okay,
Why do I have to explain something to you?
so
I'm
basically,
happy for you to disagree with me.
no. I agree
I'm
with that. I agree with
But
that.
you are giving me a lot of powerful assertions, but they're just assertions. You
What
say,
assertion?
I know there is. You say there is no other this or I mean,
I didn't say this. I give you an
or that
example.
or the other.
No, no, no. I didn't say none of that. Let me give you the
Oh,
words I said. I
okay.
said there's no other prediction of the universal submission of the world made by anybody else, but except for the people that claim it came from the God of the Hebrews. You
Okay.
can't provide me. You can't provide me any other
No, I
example.
can't. But that doesn't
So
mean there isn't any.
no, that
You
means
may, by the way, I said you may be right. I may
I'm
be
not here to
wrong.
be maybe right. I'm here to
well,
address the reality.
you keep saying, though, that you are right. You keep saying, this is true, what I'm saying, in effect.
Isn't it? Isn't it true that that there's no other prediction?
I don't know.
Wait. Let me finish.
I'll accept that
Frank,
there's
Frank,
none, but
Frank.
that
Let me
doesn't
finish
prove
my
anything.
sentence. No, let me finish my statement. You understand? You concede that there is no other prediction that has a universal scale, except
None
for the.
I know of. None that I know of. You're right.
So that makes it exclusive, right? So already there, as a scientist,
If it's true, then yes.
what is true? You accepted it. Now
If
you're
it's
saying
true that there are, I accept. Let's start over.
what?
I don't know of any others. You say,
No. There isn't no other.
but
Isn't.
you say there is no
So
other.
give me
And
one.
I say, you may be right. I can't prove otherwise because I don't know any other.
Okay, you
And
don't
you
know.
want to keep say
Okay,
you want to keep saying that makes me right. No, it doesn't
okay.
make
How
you
about
right.
this? The day you know one. Frank, listen, Frank. The day you know one, I'll cut my tongue. Okay, all right.
Why would I? What I
Okay,
wouldn't
no
want to
problem.
say in
Okay,
that case, if I come
listen.
up with one, if I discover one, I'm not going to call and tell you about it. So
No, you're
I
Frank,
damn sure don't
Frank,
want you cutting
Frank,
your tongue.
Frank. Again, you're. This is another example of you avoiding reality because you're telling me you're going to be able to produce something that you can't do right now because you know right now it is impossible to produce it.
I didn't
It's
say
impossible.
anything about what I could do. I said what I would do if it happened. Look,
No, but
I,
right now,
if you,
right now you can't. Okay, for the
I'm
people
not
that's listening.
denying reality. How does one deny reality by saying you might be right?
No,
How's that a denial of reality?
I'm not trying to
I'm just
might be
not
right.
persuaded, right? Well, I know
I'm,
you don't want me to say that, but
no,
that's the truth.
Frank, listen to me. I don't want you to be in the middle of nowhere. You have to choose a side. Yeah, okay.
I've chosen a side.
But here's, but
Profound
you chose it.
doubt.
No, but you chose a side because I seen the arguments that you presented, and I'm gonna
I
repeat
didn't
some.
present you with an argument.
Frank, you gotta let me speak. You gotta let me speak. I had this discussion with somebody else yesterday, and every time you guys are speaking over me, it's because you're afraid to face reality. So I'm gonna try this one more time. You
Go ahead.
came with the agency, human agency. Now you have to explain to me how all the nations that kept all different cycles, the Aztecs kept a monthly, every cycle in this world from every nation had to do with the veneration of their gods, and they were almost all different. To tell me that a little small country like Israel, which God predicted would be the means by which He will submit all nations.
You don't know that God predicted that.
Okay, according to the narrative of the Hebrew scriptures, it says that God would use that as a sign to demonstrate that He is God,
Okay.
submitting all nations.
Okay.
That for you is not proof. Can you give me?
No, that's not proof
Tell
to
me
me
why.
that there.
Tell me why it's not proof. Tell me why it's not proof.
That's like asking me to tell you why raw oysters don't taste good to me. I mean, it just
That's
simply
subjective.
it
That's
doesn't tell me. Look, you're not happy hearing from me that I could be wrong and you could be right. You're just not satisfied with that. You say I'm not facing reality. You're not facing the fact that I'm not telling you you're wrong. I'm
no, Frank.
admitting you could be. I
Frank.
just don't believe it. I
Frank,
came here and I said that at the very
you're a good
beginning.
magician. You're a good philosopher. You're a good philosopher. But me, I'm trying to get to something concrete.
Yeah,
Because
you're trying.
philosophy,
I
Frank,
know.
we got to both speak and respect each
Sorry,
other.
I'm sorry.
Frank, philosophy, you could talk for years and centuries and for millenniums and for eternity. You never get nowhere. Me, I'm trying to establish something here.
I know you
You
are.
okay? Let's go to the parts where you what you conceded so far. You conceded that there is no other example
I did
of
not. I told you I didn't know of any,
that.
and there may
Okay,
not be, and
okay.
there
So
may
me, I'm
not
sorry.
be any.
I'm not going to misrepresent you. Let me repeat it. You don't know of any other universal prediction that demonstrates that showcases the submission of the whole world to a
But there's
person's edict
more. But
or
there's
mandate.
more. But I said more. There's a little
What
bit
did you say?
more you're leaving off.
Go ahead. Tell me the rest. I missed out.
I don't know of any, and there may not be any. You may be right about that. I said you may be right about that. I don't know of any. Therefore, there may not be any, just like you say there is none. And I'm acknowledging the possibility that that's true.
Okay.
I'm not just, so I don't know why you can't accept that. I still have profound doubts that a God had anything to do with it. And I'm entitled to have that
No, no,
profound doubt.
you're entitled. So okay. So how about this? How about we flip it? So you're submitted to the Hebrews then, to the will of the Hebrews, because you're saying it
Respecting
came
the
from.
7-day cycle. Yeah, look, 7-day cycle is great.
No. I didn't ask you if it was great. We're not trying to. I'm not asking you if you're Donald Trump. I'm
Okay.
asking you, are you submitted to? Are you more susceptible to accept that you're submitted to the Hebrews?
Submitted to. Don't know what that means.
No, but you're the one. You're saying it doesn't. Frank.
They came up with it, and I'm
Okay.
proud of them for it, and I give them full credit for it.
So Hebrews. I'm a Hebrew. So basically,
Okay,
what you're
that's
saying.
fine.
So basically, we're greater.
Persians came up with algebra, and algebra works great, and I give the Persians great.
I'm not algebra is not didn't submit nobody. I'm talking about a direct prophecy prediction that says you will be submitted. Now you're saying it's not coming from God, so I'm saying okay, it came from the Hebrews.
I'm not saying it's not. I'm saying I don't believe it is.
Okay,
Could be.
you're saying so you
I don't
believe.
it.
Okay, Frank. So we're trying to get somewhere here. So you're saying you don't believe it came from God, so you believe it came from men. And I'm telling you, so these Hebrew men are your gods basically because they submitted you to a 7-day cycle. Is what you're saying.
Well, how do you define God? Anybody I agree
Your
with
ruler.
is a God?
They have power over you. Let's put it that way. They have power, authority.
Sure. I got almost no power at all on this planet.
No. I'm talking about.
I'll buy that. Yeah.
Okay, so Hebrew man. So Frank Lovell is ready to accept that Hebrew men have authority over all the nations. So I'm a Hebrew man because I'm a believer in the Hebrew scriptures.
With respect to the 7-day cycle, they came up with a really good idea, and they persuaded the rest of the world to go with it. That's pretty good.
No. They didn't say they would persuade the world. They said they would submit the world. So basically, what you're saying is that
you can call it submit, and I can call it persuade. I don't see the difference you see.
No, but the people that wrote it said submit. So that's what I'm talking about.
Fine. They said submit.
So Frank
and I say persuade.
You're allowed to do to say whatever you want as a slave because you're submitted that you're agreeing that you're subject.
My thinking.
Frank,
thinking. I don't yield my thinking to the Persians. I mean, to the Israelis, the ancient Israelis.
Frank, let me make a statement. So, are you conceding the fact that you're subject to the authority of Hebrew men? Is that your position?
No. On the 7-day cycle, anything about the 7-day cycle, I freely accept what they say. I accept it. I'm not.
Accept what? Except that they said
whatever the Hebrews said about the 7-day cycle.
So I'm going to tell you what they said. They said that their God would use that as a sign of his power over all of you, over all nations.
I believe they did say that. That doesn't mean I believe there is a God. I think they were
I'm not talking
mistaken.
about that. I'm not talking
Okay.
about. I'm talking about the people that wrote it. So
Okay.
you're agreeing that they had the power to submit all nations. These Hebrew men, something that no
How
other man
about
was able.
the 7 day cycle? Yeah. Why
Okay,
would I
so
deny it?
okay, so to avoid God, you're willing to give men, Hebrew men,
Well, look, you know
authority
how
over you.
many.
Frank, listen to
Well,
what I just said.
maybe, but not because of the 7 day cycle. If the authority they wish to yield over me makes some good sense, I'll certainly do it. Or even if it makes bad sense, but they're going to skew me or crucify me or burn me at the stake, I may say, okay, all right, I'll
Frank,
obey.
Frank,
But
Frank.
that one thing that happened back then doesn't make me submit myself in any other way to the authority of the ancient Hebrew.
No. Let me get this straight. The Hebrew says they would submit the nations by this that their God would submit the nations to a 7 day cycle as a demonstration of his power. You're saying, okay, it wasn't God. So I'm saying, okay, so you accept that the Hebrew man, a small group of people, was able to conquer this whole world, is what you're
Well, I
saying.
don't know about I don't think they conquered the whole world. I think
Uh, Frank,
the whole world has buys
Frank,
into the 7 day cycle.
Frank, they conquered the whole world by
Conquered the
submitting
whole.
them to a 7 day cycle and removing the veneration of their gods. So they didn't only submit the nations, they submitted the gods of the nations. Because
You're
now they can't. What, Frank?
they they did not.
Listen, Frank, they're not able to worship their gods no more. So that's killing two birds with one stone. They submitted the nations and the gods of the nations. Because now you can't worship.
Who can't worship who?
According to the Chinese, they can't worship the god without a 10 day cycle. According to the Egyptians, they can't worship their gods unless they have a 10 day cycle. According to the Romans, they can't worship the gods according to if
And
they don't have an
so
8 day cycle. So it's
and
always
so
Babylon if you don't keep a lunar cycle. That's how it works. Do your
okay,
research.
but who but they're still saying whatever they want to say.
Huh?
I mean, I don't see how anybody on this planet alive today
Yeah.
is submitted to the authority of the ancient Hebrews.
That's basically what you're saying because you're avoiding
No, I know.
the
I'm just saying I don't see it. I don't see how. I'm not saying it may be true, but doggone, I sure don't see it.
you don't have to see it. You live a 7 day cycle every week. Every week. That's
Yeah, yeah,
that's
works
what
great.
you can. That's what
It
you can.
works great.
What do you mean
Works
it works
great.
great? What do you mean it works great?
Whatever happens in
What do you mean it works
relation,
great?
we don't have a problem with it.
But what do you
Nobody
mean?
has a problem with the 7 day cycle. Well, what's the mean about that? I don't have a problem that I've still got pencil lead in here. I would have a problem if it was out, but I can tell there's still some in here.
Okay, how about
I mean the 7 day cycle, commerce worldwide runs on a 7 day cycle. That's
commerce,
the only reason that it even matters.
Frank?
If it didn't, if it wasn't a good thing
Frank,
for
Frank,
you deny that?
Frank. They had commerce way before the 7 day cycle.
No, you deny that commerce runs on a 7 day cycle worldwide?
Uh, let me repeat to you: the commerce existed way before the 7
Of
days.
course it did.
So
And it
your
was
point
in
is,
chaos in some
Frank,
places,
Frank, Frank,
and
Frank, Frank,
now it's not.
Frank, Frank. You're a good storyteller. If
Oh,
you
yeah, well, the
Frank,
Hebrews were good storytellers too.
no, but their story, I actually submitted you to a 7 day cycle, so that's a beautiful story.
Well, you're
Here's
mistaken about that.
no, unless
You didn't achieve anything worth pinning on your shirt.
unless 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 you don't live in a world that keeps a 7 day cycle, more power to you.
I live
But
in a world that for the 7 day cycle
okay, so you're
satisfies.
submitted.
The
So you're
world is satisfied with it.
uh
And that could have been
Frank,
true whether there was a God or
Frank,
not.
Frank, you can't speak for the world. You can't speak
Oh,
for the
I'm not speaking for the world. I
Frank,
observe that the whole world's on seven.
Frank,
Here's something else. The
Frank.
whole
How do you
world,
observe the world? Frank, are you
the,
Satan?
the whole
Wait,
world
Frank,
uses
Frank,
universal time. We
Frank,
don't have a bunch of different time clocks in different countries. We
Frank,
used to.
Frank. You're going on your rant right now. I want to have a dialogue because we're gonna have to finish this soon. Frank, it had commerce way before the 7 day cycle.
Why do
Frank,
you keep telling me that? Have I said something that makes you think I doubt that there was commerce long since
you said there was
I,
you said there was chaos before the 7 day cycle
the
in
commerce?
commerce.
Yeah, the
In commerce,
commerce didn't work
when
as well then
when
as it does today.
when did you see that? Show me. Give me a
Well, no,
marker.
it's down through history.
Tell me
I'll tell
when.
you what. Give me a week, and I'll get examples out of history
Frank, Frank,
of where trade
Frank,
was improved when people got in sync on the same cycle.
Frank. Let me tell you something, Frank. Listen, Frank. You're coming with a lot of stories, and you're not even able to back them up. I asked you for you. You made the
Yes, I
statement,
do not know
Frank.
everything that I can in an instant. I did
Frank,
not. Do you remember what I said when I first got here? I'm not
Frank.
here to debate, not here to talk you out of anything. I am not obligated to persuade you to anything. I'm
Why
here
do
to
you keep
find out
repeating?
if you can persuade me to something. So far, you haven't. You want to claim that you have,
I
and
can't. I
that
can't.
therefore you win, but I'm not even in
Frank,
a contest.
Frank, you keep repeating yourself, and I know this
Well,
diversion
you do
tactic.
too.
uh,
You do too.
like right now, what you're doing is trying to avoid reality. And once because I could do a video on this video and showing you how many times, Frank, like what you're doing right now, like you're speaking over me because you know where I'm going. Because I'm bringing you to us, I'm closing the walls on you to show you that this innocent, oh, I'm in the middle, I don't know where to put myself, is a great act. A great act. You came with a great story to try to avoid every reality that I presented to you. You try to say it was human agency. I refuted that.
I haven't seen
Uh,
any realities.
no, but you say I can convince you because you're trying to interrupt me from addressing the fallacies and your wild imagination. Trying to say that the 70 cycle came from human agency, and I addressed that by suggesting that, demonstrating that all nations kept a different cycle to honor their gods. You know what religion is to people? Very
Yeah,
important. They made
yeah,
temples.
yeah.
No,
And
no, 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 no.
some religions are
Frank. This is my argument. I don't need you to argue
okay.
for me. This
Okay.
is my presentation. I'm telling you that they made big temples to their gods. They sacrificed to their gods. The Greeks sacrificed to their gods. Virgins, the Aztecs sacrificed to their gods. Given killing people for their gods, sacrificing people, innocent people. So that's how important it was for them and their cycle. And you're telling me that all of a sudden that they all came together and said, hey, for commerce, let us get a 7 day cycle the Israelites predicted thousands of years ago. That will be the sign of a demonstration of the power of their God. That's the story that you're trying to.
No, I didn't. That's not my story.
It's your story. It's definitely your.
No, you asked me the question. What do you
It's not
mean that
historical.
what
My point is, it's not historical.
you asked me the question?
Yeah, go ahead.
What is it? What do I mean? The 7 day cycle works, and what I mean is that the 7 day cycle enables the whole world to be in sync in terms of commerce. Then you said, but we had commerce way before as if I had somehow denied that commerce has not been with humanity from the dawn of humanity. Of course, commerce goes way back then. You made a really good point. You refuted a really good point that I didn't make in the first place. I didn't deny that commerce waited until we had a 7-day cycle to fire up. You asked me, what is it? Why? What do I mean when the 7-day cycle works? And what I mean is world commerce, and this is a world marketplace today. It has been for a few hundred years. Although back in around the time of Jesus, it was just starting to get that way. You know, there were inroads coming in from Persia and different places, but we didn't have a world commerce at that time. Now, when all the nations, for whatever good reason, for whatever good religious reasons, once they all went to the 7-day cycle, and they may have done it for religious reasons. I don't deny that. You may be right about that. But something else happened too. There were other benefits to it. What other benefits, Frank? Well, commerce worked so well and avoided so many problems that it did have before, when 10-day cycle over here, 7-day cycles here. I don't know, there may have been 4-day cycles. Just like when everybody had their own clocks and time, there were problems. When we went to universal time, that solved a lot of problems. And that works really well too, universal time, Eastern Standard Time, and so forth and so on.
Frank.
It works well, so there's no reason to change it.
Frank.
That's all I was saying, though. I wasn't claiming you weren't right. I just don't believe that there's a God.
You keep repeating yourself, Frank. Let's bring this to a conclusion. I heard what you just said. Again, a nice story, a nice storyline.
Yeah,
all you're telling me, listen, Frank.
You got a nice story too.
Yeah, no, but my story actually submits you. Your story doesn't submit me.
That's part of your story. It submits me. I'm not submitted, but
no. But listen, Frank. Again, you're interrupting me. I let you go on your rant for at least 3 minutes. I didn't say nothing because I wanted people to see you're a nice storyteller.
Okay.
I'm gonna respond just a little to what you just said. All you presented is you're considering, or you're reflecting on the side effects. Oh, the 7-day cycle was good for commerce, so that's a side effect. I don't care about the side effect. And again, commerce.
You asked me. Did Frank, you not ask me why does it work and what did I mean? Did you not ask me that?
I did ask.
That was my answer. Is where
you
my answer. That's where I brought in commerce.
Frank, you said a lot of things. You said it was scientific in the beginning, whatever that means.
Compatible with science, and I went through that too. It was compatible with science because science can't find any reason to object to it. So I said that early. If you're recording this, you'll be able to go back and see.
No, it's recorded. But the thing is, I'm bringing it to people's attention so they could understand what's 7-day cycle, 8-day cycle, 10-day cycle. According to your science, everything is compatible. There's nothing.
Nothing I said nothing I said equals 7-day, 10-day. Everything's compatible. In fact, it wasn't compatible. It was semi-compatible, and then it got real compatible when everybody finally went to 7-day cycle.
Compatible with what?
Commerce, which was here long before the 7-day cycle was created by the
world has been submitted to us. Frank, let me give you some history because I like your story. The picture you're painting. The world has been submitted to a 7-day cycle not more than recently to, we'll say 500 years. And the last 100 years is where all the other nations fell to a 7-day cycle. So you're saying that before before those 500 years there wasn't commerce, or
there was commerce, but it was compatible. It didn't work as well.
According to what?
No. Whatever they were doing, 7-day here, 10-day there, that was compatible, but it wasn't as compatible as everybody's doing 7 days.
Who told you that? Okay, so again, that's a side effect.
I observed it in history.
You observed it. You must be
half of my state that I live in used to be on Eastern Standard Time, and half of it on Central Time, and that created great conflict of commerce. The business didn't work very well that way. Trucks would leave over here at 6 o'clock to make a delivery over here, and it'd take them 2 hours to get there. And when they got there, it was still just, it was only 7 o'clock and not 8. So,
That's nice diversion.
So the
That's a
state,
nice,
the
Frank.
state said, we're not going to divide the state up that way. Everybody in
Frank.
Kentucky's on the same clock. All of a sudden, those problems they had in the state got better. The same
Frank.
thing happened with 7-day, 10-day cycle on a global basis.
You're talking about scheduling, and you're conflating that with the 7-day cycle. Look, let's put it like this, all right? So according to you,
Yeah, go ahead.
Frank,
I'm sorry.
Frank, let me speak, because every time you try to speak over me,
I'm sorry.
no, it's okay. I know that's your purpose, but it's
not my purpose. It's my habit, but it's not my purpose.
It's your purpose. It's your purpose.
It is not my purpose.
You've been around. You've been around. Like you said, you've been around for a long time. So here's my thing. According to you, the side effects, the 70 cycle is good because of the side effects. It's good for commerce. Okay. Let's go with that. All right, no problem. We'll
sure.
Wait. Okay, no problem. We'll give you the benefit of the doubt. All right.
It's true.
No problem, Frank. You're interrupting me again, but it's okay. Like I said, I don't see how that takes in consideration the fact that there was something written a couple thousand years ago of a small group of people who claim it comes from God, that said that will be a sign or a demonstration of his power over you and every single other nation in this world. So you're saying it's not coming from God, but you can't give me any.
No, I didn't say that. I said it may come from God, but I don't believe it. Yeah.
Okay, but the question you have to address is, why would that not be a proof that he is God if it's stated that would be his proof that he is God? What else would he need to do?
People say all sorts of things, and some of them turn out to be true, and some don't.
Give me an example. Give me an example.
No.
Give me an example.
You can think of examples as well as I can.
You give me one. Give me one. Give me an example. You said people say stuff. Now give me an example where a person said something that submitted the whole nations.
It submitted? Well, I don't think they submitted a whole nation. I think they said it, and it came to be adopted.
Okay, so give me an example. So give me an example like that.
Well, there's my example.
No. Let me.
They proposed a 7-day cycle. Said God said it, and they proposed it, and over time it was adopted.
Frank,
not a submission. It was adopted by others, and it works really well.
I used the word submission, Frank. Listen, so you know what I'm talking about, because I don't want you to speak over like you're not listening to what I'm saying here. I told you that every nation had their calendar for their own religious observance. That's submission, because you submitted the nations and you submitted our gods. That's my point. So if that's not submission to you, can you explain to me what submission means to you? Because if you had a 10-day cycle to honor you,
Frank, say you're going to do it this way, and if you don't, I will punish you in a way that'll make you.
I'm not talking about the punishment. I'm not talking about the punishment.
Well, give me a synonym, maybe, so I can understand what you mean by submission.
I'm gonna bring it to you. If I say you're gonna keep a 7-day cycle, that's submission. I don't have to tell you what the punishment is. I'm saying you're gonna keep a 7-day cycle because I said you're gonna keep a 7-day cycle. So that's submission. So can you give me that?
Yeah, I don't think the world is doing it because the ancient Hebrews said it.
But you have to explain to me why.
No, I don't.
But you're coming with a nice story. You're coming with a nice story to avoid reality.
I have a terrible story. I don't have a story. I didn't bring a story.
Frank, I'm going to ask you this last question. Okay? If the God of the Hebrews said he would submit all nations, or the people that claim it comes from the God of the Hebrews said he would submit all nations, and all nations had their own calendar to honor their gods, what else would he need to do to prove that he is God? By the fact that he fulfilled this very mandate that he said would be the sign of his power over all nations. Every nation no longer is able to honor their gods. The Chinese, the Mayans, the Aztecs, the French, the Romans.
But you told me they do honor their gods. They just don't honor their gods on it.
They can't honor the God. I never said they honor the God. They can't. They can't honor the God under the calendar of the 7-day cycle.
No, that's right. That's true.
So explain to me. Give me one example, because I wanna bring this to a close. We can't be going.
You're right. You're right.
Frank,
I can.
Frank. Let me speak. Let me speak, because you're a nice storyteller, but I want people to understand where you're coming from.
I'm
Okay?
saying what you want me to say.
No, you're not telling me. I don't want you to tell me, because I don't want you to say
I'm
what
not telling you. I'm not telling it to you because you want to hear it. But it's what you're looking for.
Frank, every time I'm trying to bring you to a corner, you're making this whole noise so people don't know where you're going. I'm closing the walls on both of us so that people know our the cards in our hands. Me, I don't want nobody to say I'm hiding any cards. Okay, I don't like that. Okay, so basically, you're saying that you don't believe it came from God. My question to you is, if every nation had their own calendar to honor their gods and they took it seriously, whole bunch of ceremonies and sacrifices and temples, they took it seriously. So the fact that the Hebrews said God would submit all nations to his cycle as a demonstration of his power, not only over the nations, but over the gods of the nations. Isn't that enough proof to demonstrate that he is God? And if that's not proof, what proof would you need?
Well, I can answer. I'm going to answer both questions.
Go ahead.
I don't see it. I don't see why it's a proof of anything.
Explain.
I think that.
Give me a nice story.
I don't have a story. I don't see how that proves it. No, I have no problem. I think people
tell me a story. Tell me a story.
It's not. I don't have a story. I don't have a story.
Explain to me how the Hebrews were able to predict the universal application of the 7-day cycle as a sign of the authority of Jesus over all nations, given the fact that Frank, don't speak over me, so people don't understand what I'm bringing you, because I'm bringing you somewhere, and you have to try to make some sense of your response. So it was predicted that he would submit all nations to a 7-day cycle as a proof of his authority over all nations. Now, I said all nations kept a different cycle to honor their gods. So you're saying, were not submitted. I'm telling you that they were submitted by the very fact that they're no longer able to honor their gods and keep their religion, something that people hold to the very core of their being. So they're not even able to do that. So the fact that God was able to do that, not only submit the nations, but the gods of the nations, isn't that not enough proof?
No.
You said it's not. Explain to me why not.
I don't see it as proof at all.
Tell me why.
Why should I can't tell you why. You won't believe it.
We can leave it like that.
If I tell you why, you're going to say, "Hey, but that's just a nice story, Frank." You know, so I already know how you're going to react to it. If I say that people they were persuaded by a whole lot of complex circumstances.
We could put it like that.
A whole lot of other human things.
I could agree. It was
on a 7-day cycle. That's all. I think that's how it happened. And you can say, well, that doesn't make any sense to me. I don't see why that would be true. And if you were to say that to me, I'd say, well, I believe you that it doesn't make sense to you. And I can't make it make sense to you. It's like you can't make it make sense to me that somehow there's proof in what's ended up being a universal 7-day cycle of religious belief, also in sync with how we do everything else, how we manufacture stuff, how we ship and deliver stuff, when the
Frank,
offices are
Frank,
busy.
I'm not gonna let you repeat the same argument that you
Okay,
did
no,
before.
I got you.
Frank,
It's not. By the way, folks, I'm not making an argument.
Frank, thank you again for that nice story about the side effects
You're
of
welcome.
commerce.
Well, you
But you didn't
asked.
really, yeah, but you didn't address how all the nations are not able to honor their gods anymore.
You mean
That they went,
I haven't persuaded you yet?
no, Frank, listen, because you're talking
I
and
asked a
avoiding
question.
you're avoiding the reality again. You're not focusing on the part that you really need to focus on. It's the submission part,
Yeah,
because all nations are not able to honor their gods anymore because their
they could
calendar.
if they wanted to.
No, no,
If they
no,
wanted to, yes, they could. Who would
Frank.
stop them? They could. You
Who,
say they're no longer able to. They've agreed not to. They've got in sync with the 7 day.
yeah,
But
they agreed to stop honoring their gods. Is that what you
on,
said?
on a 10 day cycle.
No,
Yeah.
what you're saying is the nations, all nations, decided to stop honoring their gods. Is that what you're saying? Is that
No, I'm saying
that's what you're saying?
any nation that in any sense honors any god is today honoring their god in whatever way they want.
No, Frank, Frank,
It
Frank,
happens
Frank,
they're
Frank.
all
Nice
unified
story,
on a
nice story.
7 day
Frank,
cycle.
Frank. Listen, nice story, nice story. I told you that their weekly calendar. This is historical. I'm not talking about some Hollywood movie and your wild imagination. I'm telling you that their calendar was specifically concerning worship. That's without a doubt. It's historical. This your version of history doesn't exist except for movies or in your imagination. I'm bringing you the fact that their weekly cycle was specifically concerning worship. So
Okay.
now you're wait, Frank. So what you're trying to the picture you're trying to paint for us, this very vivid movie that you're producing in front of us right now, is to suggest that all nations decided to dishonor their gods just to be on the 7 day cycle because of commerce.
Well, it didn't
What
happen all at once, but yeah, they became
Okay,
persuaded.
no problem. So
Yeah,
so according to
yeah.
your movie, they all decided to leave their gods alone just to honor the 7 day
No, they
cycle.
don't. No. The changing from
And
a 10 day cycle to a 7 day cycle doesn't mean they're leaving their gods alone. Just means
they,
they're going to a 7 day
Frank,
cycle.
Frank, I don't want to repeat myself many times. They have to keep a 10 day cycle to honor their gods. They have to keep an 8 day cycle to honor the Roman gods. They have to keep a lunar cycle
They
to honor
changed
the
their
Bible.
mind. They
Frank,
changed their
Frank,
mind.
they changed their mind. Nice
Yeah.
movie. Nice
What?
movie.
Are you saying that
Frank,
isn't that's not true?
Frank,
You
who
not,
told you
are
they
you
changed?
saying they
Frank,
didn't change their mind?
Frank, who told you that they changed their mind? They told you that the Babylonians came up to you and left you a note saying they changed their mind. You were there during the time of Babylon.
This afternoon, I watched a little girl who was in line ahead of me
A nice movie
make a
again.
decision between a chocolate ice cream cone or a vanilla ice cream cone. Now, she didn't reveal to me any of the things she was thinking. She just stood there and went like this, and then she picked the chocolate one. Now, I can't prove she decided anything, but it
Okay,
sure looked to me like a decision was made.
a
And I
decision.
look back at history and I think that people made decisions to either accommodate or get in sync with, to relieve what other kinds of pressures there may have been.
Okay, no, there was pressure. There was definitely pressure from
But
above.
just
Frank,
saying,
Frank, let's finish up. Let's finish off like that. I like the way you said there was pressure.
you
There was
know, English is
Frank,
becoming the
Frank, Frank,
language of the
Frank,
world.
Frank. Every time you're interrupting me is because
Yeah,
you know I'm going somewhere, and you're about to
yeah,
be
that's what it is.
you're about to be exposed. Okay.
Yeah, that's what it
Um,
is.
no
You
problem.
got it.
It definitely is. So they were pressured. I agree. That's perhaps the only thing I agree with you. They were pressured from above, from Jesus Christ. But I like the story you presented. A little girl choosing between strawberry and chocolate. You're comparing
Vanilla
that,
chocolate.
Frank.
Vanilla.
Frank.
No,
Every time you
well,
interrupt me,
you
inter-
say it, and when it's wrong, it's okay for me to say, no, I didn't say that.
okay.
I
What
said
did you
this.
say? What did you say? What did you say? What did you say?
I saw her make a decision, but I didn't hear her thinking. Maybe
Okay,
she didn't make a decision.
okay, that's a
Maybe
small.
she just reached it out, and I mean, I don't know. Well, I
Okay,
know, no.
Frank, Frank,
You asked
Frank.
me to prove that the people made a decision to change from 10 to 7. You asked me that, but I can't prove they made a decision.
Okay,
But history sure looks like they made a decision, just like what I witnessed here with this little girl. Looked all the world like she made a decision. I could be
okay,
wrong, but I concluded she made a decision. I
okay,
could be
Frank.
wrong that the 10-day cycle people made a decision, some
Okay,
here then, some there later, some others before, but eventually they all agreed to go with the 7-day cycle. And
okay,
you
Frank.
want to tell me that couldn't be the case?
Frank. I know I'm talking to my people that's watching. Watch him interrupt me because he thinks I forgot what he said. I'm coming back to what he said because all he just said right now is to divert your attention for you to forget the last point he made. See, I read my Bible. I know what I'm dealing with. So I'm gonna go back to the original point you made. So according to you, you compared a girl choosing what ice cream she wants to a nation who created temples for their gods. And according to his story, his imagination, the picture he's trying to paint for you is that they said one day, you know what? Forget honoring my God. All the sacrifices I did for him, all these temples I built for him, the Egypt building temples, pyramids, forget the pyramids. No, we spent all our lives to build pyramids. We built all our lives in Babylon to build ziggurats, the pyramids also. All our lives in Aztec building these pyramids also. All our lives in China building all these temples to their gods. The Romans forget their gods. All of that to somehow align with the prophecy written in scripture that said every nation would be submitted to a 7-day cycle. So only not only he's presenting that all the nations said we don't want to honor our gods no more for some reason. Okay, and not only that, but it aligns, it's parallel, it joins specifically with the prophecy of scripture. So this picture that he's trying to paint for you demonstrates how he's trying to avoid reality by all means. By all means, because you have to have a wild imagination to come up with it, because I never had this argument ever presented to me. For you to come up with this argument, you really had to go deep in the rabbit hole, really deep in, and now I know what I'm dealing with. Frank, you're not really Frank, but you're Frank. Okay, no problem. For him to come up with this argument, you really have to really think deeply. Like you really have to go in your bag and really try to find any desperate way to avoid the reality of what I'm presenting here. And what is the reality I'm presenting? First off, the God of the Hebrews makes exclusive claims to the 7-day cycle. That's my first premise. No one can refute that. Second premise, the God of the Hebrews prophesies or predicts the universal application of the 7-day cycle as a proof demonstration of his power over all nations. Now he's trying to avoid that reality by bringing this beautiful story, this not beautiful story, but this very elaborate scheme to suggest that all nations, no, a lot of nations in this world, which all had different calendars to worship their gods, all of a sudden, they said,
Ah,
you know what? I'm done. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna stop worshiping my God. All these temples, forget about it. All these sacrifices, forget about it. All this culture and this all this uh, um, years and centuries and millenniums of worshiping our gods. We're gonna stop doing that. You know why? Because we want to somehow align with the prophecy of Scripture that says God would submit all nations to a 7-day cycle. Now you really have to be desperate to come up with such a scenario. So I'm gonna leave it there. I'd like to thank Frank very much
oh,
for
do
this.
I get to
This
do I get to make a closing statement?
Oh, go ahead, make your closing statement. But try to, if you got a
It'll be
story,
short. Oh, it's going to be
no
short.
problem. No problem. Go ahead. Go
Well,
ahead.
that's a very nice story that you presented. It's very elaborate. I'm proud of you for that. But I didn't say anything about suddenly all these people did it at once. I did say back
Inconsequential.
they did
But
it
go
over
ahead.
here. Well, no, I mean if
Minute.
what I say counts, it can be
Minute.
criticized because of then what you said counts too. I
Minute.
only brought it.
Minutia. Not really important. But go ahead.
Okay. Well, it's a very elaborate story. If I were among your followers, I would say
I have no followers.
great job.
I have no
And
followers.
if I were one of your listeners, I'd say that fella Frank Lovell, what a stupid jerk he is.
Who needs to say that?
To come here and fail to present an argument when he said in the very beginning, wasn't here to make an argument, wasn't here to tell you what was right or wrong.
He made a lot of arguments.
Well, you got the video. You should make that video available to anyone else that wants
It's
to
live.
see how many times did I not do what you said I did. And how many times did I say, hey, I could be wrong. You could be right. I'm not saying you're wrong.
Hey, you know, in scripture, we notice Satan as being a very subtle deceiver. I'm just talking very subtle. That means you got to really have experience with him on the field to know how he works. Because sometimes you might be. It's like in you ever seen a movie the Devil's Advocate? You ever seen that movie? The Devil's Advocate. Well, I don't remember his name. Yeah. There's a part in the movie says, you gotta hit them before they see you coming. So very subtle. Like you're not supposed to see the enemy come, especially when you have somebody that's very desperate. Like Satan for us, he's very desperate. He's trying to do by any means to try to save his ass, but it's not gonna work out. So when I interact with people and have people saying like one thing, like what you said, and I'm saying that with all due respect, but because it's something I would say to your face, without a doubt. But when I have a person saying,
You're
I'm
really
not
good.
arguing,
You're really good.
no, hold up. Like, you can't say I'm good. You don't even know the point I'm making yet. You see,
Well,
every time you do that,
whatever it is,
Frank,
you're doing it with
Frank,
all due
Frank,
respect. I got that part.
Frank, every time you interrupt me when I'm about to bring you to the point I'm trying to address, it shows me that you know where you're coming from. You know what you're doing, and you know that I know. But I'm trying to explain to the people that's watching, for them to know, because not everybody has those eyes to see. Because me, I depend on scripture, not on my own eyes.
I got you.
It took me a while to understand where you're coming from, but now I understand. Because when you tell me something, you're not arguing a point, and you went all throughout. We spoke for an hour and a half, and you gave me different scenarios that is so wild, and you're telling me that's not an argument. It's so wild. Yeah, you would tell me what you would say, oh, I'm not sure, or I don't know, but you would come with the scenarios that's so out there that you would need a wild imagination. Like the movies you can come up with, very elaborate. Remember, I'm gonna repeat one more time. According to you, all nations decided to let go of all their beliefs,
Never said that.
throughout time, all their beliefs.
Never said all beliefs. Never said all beliefs.
Well,
Never said that.
No worship without their calendar. Worship without their calendar. This is historical. That's not me. Scholars.
Okay.
No worship without the calendar. So they all decided to let go of their calendar, and to align that very action aligns specifically with the prophecy that God would submit all nations. So not only they did something so wow out there, it aligns with prophecy, and that's not submission to you. That's they decided to do it. They decided to fulfill the prophecy of God, to make it seem like it came from
Well,
you.
I don't think that had anything to do with it, but I think they did all come persuaded to unite and do it in
No,
one
they
way.
were persuaded. They were persuaded, without a doubt. I like it better when you said there was some pressure from. There was some pressure. Yes, there was some pressure. I like that better. Pressure from
Well, why do you like it better? At no point did I ever think otherwise. It just
no, because I'm saying submission.
It's possible I wouldn't have said it at all. It's possible I would have said it up front. I mean, you say that like, I got him to at least admit that. Well, of course, there had to be persuasion involved, and there's always pressure and persuasion of one kind or another. You know, it could be it could be all due respect type pressure, or economic pressure, or physical force.
I like. You're back to your storytelling mode.
When you tell it, it ain't a story. When I tell it, it's a story. You know, no, but I see my story. To use a phrase that you might have used for me, I see how you work. I can tell stories that you can't.
Frank, but your story is not tangible or doesn't submit anything. My story actually,
of course.
But my story, Frank, my story. This is the conclusion. My story actually submitted all of us. My story actually has power to submit. You could call it a story, but you're submitted to it. So a story submitted you, but your story doesn't submit me. That's the point.
Well, you have a nice story. You haven't submitted
me. You keep a 7-day cycle.
Neither of us has submitted the other. I'll admit I haven't submitted you.
I didn't submit you. I didn't submit you. But the story that you're saying, Scripture, submitted you to a 7-day cycle. That's my point. I'm satisfied with that. You could say commerce, side effects, but it's okay.
No, that's great. That's great.
No problem. So, Frank, this was very interesting. I'm gonna study this video because you came with a curveball. You're one of those special ones. You're one of those.
If we ever do this again, you may not want to, but if we ever do, I think we need to agree that we're going to do it, and we need to agree what it's going to be on, and we need to have a week or two to prepare. I didn't prepare at all after you.
I didn't prepare anything.
I did not realize that I was going to be able, that you would be able to see me, and that we were going to have a conversation. I thought I would be tuning into a broadcast, so I had not 2 seconds. I had about 2 seconds from the time that the computer told me, "Do you want to turn your camera on?" That's the first time I thought, "Wait a minute, this is going to be two-way." Oh, well, okay. So next time I think I request a little time to prepare because I did not even know I was going to be able to talk. I thought at best I'd be able to type something in and you might see a question appear.
Yeah. I'm sure that's what you were expecting. All I know is, according to your standards, you did a great job. But
I made your case for you, and that's okay.
No.
You didn't make my case for me. And by the way, you may be right about everything, and I may be wrong about all of it. I do not claim that you are wrong. I just don't buy it. And then I wanted to hear what you had to say. I did not know I was going to have a chance to talk about it. Well,
Frank.
It's been fun.
Let me tell you, Frank. Let me finish off with this, Frank. You don't have to buy it. Frank, you don't have to buy it. My God will submit you. Has submitted you, and he will submit you again. For now.
Of course he will.
Whoever is willing to you're interrupting me again because I was about to bring you somewhere again. So all the storytelling might work on the blind sheep, but not my kind. It took a while for me to really understand where you're coming from, but I understand now. Don't worry about it. So we'll leave with that. Thank you very much for this entertainment. and I have much to consider in this exchange. I will be studying this dialogue we had, so that way, because I've been through this already. It's not the first time, but next time I'll be like more quicker to quicker on the draw. Let's put it that way. So that way I won't waste. I won't say waste. I We spent 1 hour and 30 minutes speaking. Next time I'll be a little more swift with my strategy. So thank you very much for that, and I appreciate this experience. Take care of yourself.
I appreciate it too. Hang in there.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry.
10-4. That's what we say in Kentucky. 10-4.
No problem. Take care of yourself.